Energy is a concept that's useful in all branches of science, from physics to biology to engineering to nutrition. So what is energy? Well, I think put most simply, energy is the ability to produce motion. Now, energy comes in many different forms in nature. We'll list some of those different forms in just a minute. And energy has a few special properties. Maybe most notably, probably one you've heard about before, is that the total amount of energy is always the same. This is the law of conservation of energy. In chemistry class, you might have heard it as the first law of thermodynamics. You might have heard it phrased as energy cannot be created or destroyed. Now, the different types of energy, the different forms, can be transformed from one type into another. So what are some of these different forms of energy in nature? Well, first of all, motion. That's maybe the most fundamental form of energy. We call this kinetic energy. Kinetic meaning movement. We already used that word kinetic when we talked about friction with objects moving. So kinetic energy is the intrinsic energy that a moving object has by virtue of its being in motion. Now there's a broad class of energy called potential energy, that is energy associated with the position or configuration of a system of objects. We'll understand what that means in more detail as we go through this unit, but for now let me just list some types of potential energy. These types include gravitational, chemical, elastic, or energy that has to do with stretching objects out, like a spring. Nuclear potential energy. And there's several other different kinds. Electrical potential energy. You'll learn a lot about that in Physics 7. Now, another super important type of energy is electromagnetic radiation, or electromagnetic waves. That's also mainly a Physics 7 topic. Electromagnetic waves, also known as light, include radio, microwaves, infrared, visible light that the human eye can see, ultraviolet, X-rays, and gamma rays. Now, if you've taken chemistry before, you might be thinking of another type of energy that could go on this list, which is thermal energy, heat energy. And if you really want to think about this from a physics perspective, thermal or heat energy is really just a manifestation of kinetic energy. Because objects being hot or objects being in a certain temperature is a result of the microscopic motion of the atoms or molecules that make up that object. So in fact, thermal energy is really just a macroscopic manifestation of microscopic kinetic energy. So now that we have an overview of types of energy and the properties of energy, let's get into some mathematical detail.